Hello everyone. This is our ninth lecture, and today in this lecture we are going to study the scope of foreign aid. Like, what is the scope of foreign aid? United States Agency of International Development USAID USAID की जो short form है like US United States Agency of International Development इसकी short form है USAID. Fine. Has measured in a place to assess the success of its aids vendors. Most US aid in the form of economic and military aid is largely unevaluated in the terms of achievement of the previously mentioned foreign policy goals. It is It is the goal of this study to evaluate the success of combined U.S. economic and military aid in accomplishing of these three general foreign policy objectives. Government agencies of the U.S., including USAID, have typically typed a 5 to 10 expectancy on seeing results for foreign assistance. For that, for that reason, data from the years 2002 to 2011, the last year for which the reliability data US aid level has indices of the three goals are available will be utilized. For definitional purpose, foreign aid is money transfer on concessionary terms of concessionary terms by the development of rich countries to the government of the poor countries. However, there also exists a more nuanced definition of international assistance. International assistance is the transfer of any resource, grant of money, and consistency less than market rate, like loans. The, the provision of goods and services and technical assistance, including military assistance. For reminder of this paper, for the reminder, the term foreign aid and international assistance will be used interchangeably based on more comprehensive definition in the international assistance. For policies and implementation of the US uses state-to-state foreign aid. Therefore, states will be evaluated in this analysis. For this study, 10 case countries will be evaluated. Objectives of foreign aid. This research is a straight point for evaluation of US foreign aid agencies such as USAID and the World Bank have a long measured to success of humanitarian aid project, but no inquiries have been made into this accomplishment of broad US foreign policy goals through economic and military aid, having an assessment on the three main aid objectives would direct further researchers to look into the nuances of way foreign aid policy objectives were or were not met. This paper takes US centered approaches as its specifically look at US foreign policies and foreign aid to provide feedback for US policy makers. A short-term analysis, it is a beginning point for the understudied areas of foreign policy objectives of US foreign aid. Some overreacting goals of US aid and US aid policies have remained largely unchanged for decades. If foreign aid is failing to achieve its objective, it needs to be noted and or either or abno, abnormida- ab- abundant to a new policy goal for aid. In addition, this study is further studies in this area will be served as a compass to guide the United States to direct US aid and energies into vendors while foreign aid is likely to be impactful. Of US foreign aid. The United States gives many forms of aid. However, aid is usually categorized into two general groups: economic and military. U.S. economic aid for the years 2002 through 2012 totaled 313 billion USD, and military aid for those years totaled 128 billion USD. Economic aid entails development aid managed by the US aid, food aid, the peace crops credit for export, disaster assistance, and the so-called economic support fund. Military aid. The military aid, as the name implies, deals exclusively with US military dealing. It includes grant for the purchase of military equipment, credit, financing of military scale on military education and training. Military aid is one more straightforward straightforward than economic aid. Military aid serves both US geopolitical goals, such as reinforcing US partners around the world, as well as promoting US commercial interests. In effect, military aid is given to fortify the hard power of US allies, to reinforce the beneficiary countries' ties to, to the use, and directly supports us for commercial interest in the manufacture and the scale of military equipment. Economic aid in economic aid in comparison transparent is much less transparent and also more complex. While one goal of economic aid is to encourage development in recipient country, other purposes for giving economic aids are to advance the security interest for the economic well-being of the donor. Frequently, economic assistance serves US geostrategic aims. The ESF, for example, which is supposed to help fund large infrastructure development projects, is often given to geostatic countries for purpose of security rather than that economic development. This can be demonstrated by the fact that ESF was given to countries of political importance to the US. While categorizing the two groups would make aid appear to be in transparent issue where and why the funds are actually distributed in complex. In fact, receiving US military aid is linked to be doubling to be a doubling of US economic aid. Additionally, tying aid to specific foreign policy objective can be difficult because the diffuse and versatile function of aid. For example, military aid often runs counter to economic aid in that counter to economic aid in that it is not meant that further economic freedom or development would, however, for the purpose of this research, overall US aid will be measured as supporting all three foreign policies objectives despite military aid. Purpose of US foreign aid: the United States groups aid into economic and military blocs, but the overall goal of aid is the same: political strategies and even welfare interest in the donor rather than that of widespread myth that the aid is primarily meant to assist the poor. More specifically, the purpose of US aid is to increase economic collaboration between countries in countries in the hopes of encouraging political constancy and more favorable relationship between countries. US leaders recognize the role of the hegemon in the event action a with the global war on terror have the goal of aid changed. An action aid report on the you can say the destroying impact of this on the aid, which flows notes that which is similar to the Cold War, and aid flows during the war on the territory are the tie to a single purpose. Fine. The war on terror or long war is compared to Cold War as global zero-sum idealization struggle. In comparison to the Cold War US aid flows are again intended to create support for US in the war on terror and the US lead global order. While aid levels have increased sustainability during the war on terror, the main purpose for giving the aid have remained with the additional aid going towards project and im- imperative that benefit US security requirements.